All right, welcome back, everyone. Today, we've got a highly strategic explainer lined up for you. We are going to map out the terrain for the Cisco 300-110 WLSD exam. If you're on the path to earning your CCNP wireless certification, this exam, Designing Cisco Wireless Networks, is absolutely a must-pass. And look, we aren't just going to sit here and read you the syllabus today. We're going to treat this document like a reconnaissance mission. By the end of this explainer, you're going to know exactly where to allocate your study time, and more importantly, how to avoid the hidden traps that catch so many candidates totally off guard. You already know that the Cisco certification badge is a globally recognized standard of engineering excellence, right? But earning it, that requires precision. Mastering this specific blueprint is the absolute key to your certification success. The blueprint isn't just some random list of topics. It tells you exactly how Cisco weighs the importance of a wireless engineer's daily tasks. Truly understanding the structure is half the battle. Here is how we're going to break this down today. First, the 90-minute challenge. Then we'll map out the blueprint of the exam. After that, we hit the heavyweight, network infrastructure. We'll follow that up with site surveys and mobility. And finally, wrap things up with high availability requirements. Let's jump in. Kicking things off with part 1, the 90-minute challenge and how to beat the clock. 90. That is your magic number. Before you even glance at a single technical requirement, you have to understand the format of the battlefield you're stepping into. You have exactly 90 minutes. That is the strict time limit for the Designing Cisco Wireless Networks exam. And let me tell you, that is not a lot of time when you're evaluating complex design scenarios, material attenuation, and high-density networking requirements. You really don't have the luxury of just sitting back and pondering every single question. You need immediate recall. This time constraint is exactly why knowing the blueprint weightings is so vital. You need to know where your points are coming from so you can study efficiently and react instantly on test day. Which brings us right to section 2, the blueprint of the exam, or where the actual points lie. So let's break down this overall syllabus to eliminate the unknown. What's really interesting about this distribution is that, well, while all 4 of these domains obviously matter, the wired and wireless infrastructure domain is the undeniable heavyweight. It comes in at a massive 30% of your total exam. Wireless site survey and mobility are tied for second at 25% each, and WLAN high availability rounds out the whole shebang at 20%. Look, if you are weak in that 30% infrastructure section, those 90 minutes are going to feel incredibly long. So we're going to attack that heavyweight section right now.
All right, section 3, the heavyweight, network infrastructure.
Okay, we are diving deep into this massive 30% chunk because this is where we see some huge exam traps, specifically differentiating between objectives 2.1 and 2.2. This is where so many candidates lose really easy points. The crucial thing here is understanding the hard lines Cisco draws between the physical and the logical. Objective 2.1, that's all about tangible physical infrastructure. Think AP power requirements. Are you using PoE, PoE Plus, or UPoE? What about your cabling and switch port capacity? A massive exam trap here is focusing so much on the RF design that you totally forget about the wired bottleneck. Like if you design this amazing high-density Wi-Fi network, do your switch ports actually have the multi-gigabit capacity to handle it? Did you factor in mounting and grounding for your outdoor APs? Then on the flip side, Objective 2.2 introduces the logical infrastructure trap. Licensing. You absolutely must know the WLC and AP licensing requirements based strictly on the type of wireless architecture you are deploying. Is it controller-based, cloud-managed, embedded? Applying the wrong licensing tier to a specific architecture in a scenario question is a classic pitfall. So whatever you do, do not mix up your physical constraints with your logical licensing requirements. Now, beyond those physical and logical traps, the rest of this 30% domain is really testing your ability to fine-tune the network. You need a solid grasp on radio resource management, or RRM, and that includes the newer AI-enhanced RRM via Cisco Catalyst Center. You'll also be tested on RX SOAP, which controls how your access points basically ignore weak signals, along with your overall RF profiles. Plus, you're not just designing a generic one-size-fits-all network. You've got to apply specific requirements depending on the traffic. Is it just data? Or is it latency-sensitive voice and video? Are you utilizing Cisco Spaces for location tracking? Oh, and don't forget you need to know the modes of operation for wireless bridging, including mesh, workgroup bridges, and exactly how roaming applies to all of it. Moving right along to Section 4, Site Surveys and Mobility. With that 30% heavyweight out of the way, we're shifting focus to the 2 domains that together make up half of your total exam score. For Objective 1.1 under Site Surveys, listen, Before you ever place a single AP on a map, you have to collect your design requirements and evaluate constraints. You're analyzing client density, you're accounting for real-time applications. You need to select the exact right AP type and the exact antenna type based on the environment. And just like we saw in the infrastructure section, your survey is going to change drastically based on the deployment type, whether that's data, location, voice, or video, and of course, your necessary security constraints. The syllabus then walks you through the entire life cycle of site surveys. It's a progression, right? You start with a predictive site survey, you move to a pre-deployment survey, and finally, you validate the whole design with a post-deployment site survey. You also absolutely must be able to perform and analyze a Layer 1 site survey, truly understanding material attenuation. And hey, here's a detail you cannot overlook. Cisco explicitly lists planning tools you have to be familiar with to evaluate key network metrics. So definitely expect to see references to Ekahau, Hamina, Channelizer, and Spectrum analyzers. Transitioning over to the 3.0 mobility domain, that's another 25% chunk. This is where your design actually comes to life for moving users. You have to design mobility groups based on specific mobility roles. And a huge portion of this, optimizing client roaming. Look, if voice calls are dropping when a user walks down the hall, your roaming design has failed. Simple as that. You also need to know how to validate mobility tunneling for both the data and control paths. And finally, make sure you can clearly describe the function and application of site tags and modern controller architectures. That's how you properly group your APs and assign profiles.
Almost there! Section 5. High Availability Requirements.
We are now entering the final stretch of the exam blueprint. Because really, what good is a brilliantly designed network if a single point of failure takes the whole thing down? This perfectly illustrates our final set of exam traps. You have to compare the differing high availability strategies required for controllers versus access points, so you don't get them crossed on test day. When you think about controllers, HA means network availability through link aggregation groups, stateful switchover, and controller priority and redundancy, including your anchor controllers. But for access points, HA is a completely different beast. It's all about AP prioritization, it's about configuring fallback, assigning primary, secondary, and tertiary controllers so the AP knows exactly where to go if its main brain goes offline. It also includes understanding the embedded wireless controller, or EWC model. So whatever you do, do not apply an AP fallback strategy to a controller HA question. Keep these silos completely distinct in your mind. All right, so we've officially mapped the entire battlefield of the 300-111 WLSD exam. We know about the strict 90-minute limit. We've navigated those physical versus logical licensing traps in that massive 30% infrastructure domain, and we just separated our HA strategies. So I'm going to leave you with this one strategic question. With infrastructure holding 30% of the weight and those crucial high availability concepts taking up 20%, where will you allocate your very next 90 minutes of study time? Take this blueprint, map out your own weaknesses, and go conquer those exam traps. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and happy studying.